Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right after this for the upload synopsis. And to my super chat, your support is so greatly appreciated. Let's go. Let's get started. These ongoing efforts are, okay, so 700 boxes of material, 700 boxes were removed by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We'll get to the arrests of Don Lemon and others a little later, but this is very important. President Trump has essentially opened up a criminal probe, or the FBI, the DOJ opened up a criminal probe, and Tulsi Gabbard was also seen there. There's an intelligence community element to this as well. So this is huge. Hit subscribe to this channel. Let's get started. Donald Trump, USA Today, calls for special prosecutor to investigate his false claims. There won't be a special prosecutor, though, because right now, there's just an ongoing DOJ probe. Check this out.
Fox News is learning FBI agents are on site at a Fulton County election office in Georgia, where they are conducting a search. David Spunt's got more details for us on this developing story. David?
Hi, Sandra. This is a satellite office for the Fulton County Elections Office. The FBI Atlanta press office confirming this, not giving many details, saying that the FBI is executing a court-authorized law enforcement action. No other details at this time, but we do know via sources a judge signed off on this warrant, allowing these agents, as you see them, enter this building to take items from the inside. Now, we're told that this is a sealed matter before the court, meaning details are now limited. Now, agents are looking at documents, phones, computers. We are told via multiple sources this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Now, we don't know specifically what agents are taking to the FBI lab, items that may eventually become part of a federal case. You may remember President Trump was charged in Fulton County with trying to overturn the 2020 election results. That's Brad Raffensperger right there. He is the Secretary of State of Georgia. That is the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis. Now, Raffensperger spoke to President Trump back in early 2021, and Trump said that he wanted to find some 11,000 votes to help win the election. Raffensperger said that he felt pressure from Trump. Willis then took Donald Trump to trial. That didn't happen. In 2023, she said that her prosecution was all buttoned up, ready to go, but it was completely derailed after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team, and it could have tainted the case. Late last year, a judge dismissed the case in its entirety. It's important to point out, Sandra, that a judge typically would not just sign off on a warrant so the FBI could go on what's known as a fishing expedition. It's likely the FBI and DOJ presented some credible evidence to the judge for the judge to go ahead and give the green light. No immediate comment from the Justice Department. Again, the FBI confirming this court-authorized search warrant. We are waiting to see if perhaps Director Kash Patel, Attorney General Pam Bondi, or even Secretary Raffensperger, or perhaps Governor Brian Kemp have anything to say. We'll follow it.
So there's almost certainly a Department of Justice criminal probe, an FBI criminal probe, and there's an intelligence community element to this as well. Tulsi Gabbard was seen. So the director of national intelligence was there as well, and 700 boxes of ballots, information, a whole bunch of things. The interesting thing regarding all of this is the potential intelligence community involvement in the investigation. So that's an interesting element. We're going to take a trip down memory lane after we discuss the criminal probe. Biden apparently won, or he definitely did won, he won 81 million votes. The question is that how do you, if you have that political capital, if you are popular enough to win 81 million Americans supporting you, then how do you get kicked out of contention for 2024 because of one debate performance? And the question is, did he have that political capital to begin with? Was that actually legitimate and genuine? Did he have the support of 81 million people to begin with? We know that he got the votes. Did he have the actual grassroots legitimate, genuine, organic support, political capital, momentum? Did he have all of that? Because he was kicked out. George Clooney wrote an op-ed, and he was kicked to the curb politically by his own political party. The same political party that wanted to indict and imprison anyone who questioned the sanctity of Biden's victory. So that's a very simple, logical response. Even there's no evidence, there's no direct evidence, there's circumstantial, but we can get to that. There's no direct evidence of any criminal activity pertaining to 2020. The problem is you were never going to get any direct evidence when all of media, everyone involved, prevented any legitimate investigation. There was no FBI probe. There was no intelligence community investigation, which is what's going on right now, almost certainly. Local law enforcement were not investigating. You never really had an actual investigation when it happened in real time. All you had were court cases that Democrats said, you lost every court case. Well, there was the issue of standing, and there was also the issue of, well, where's the evidence? You need an actual investigation. So it's outlandish to say that Trump won because of Russian help. That was completely absurd. But fraud is committed all the time in political contests. That's not absurd. It's also not absurd to look back and say, well, why was Biden kicked out of contention? And did he have the political capital to begin with? Because if a president gets 81 million Americans to support him, he can have 20 debate performances in the manner that Biden, conducted, expressed himself. And that support would keep him in contention. They wouldn't just kick him to the curb politically as quickly as they did. But let's continue.
Sandra.
Okay, David Spunt there in Washington on that for us. Keep us posted. David, thank you. Bill.
Thank you.
Well, Sandra, Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin has a court hearing next week and is.
The FBI is going through a trove of evidence seized during a search on a Georgia election office. Sources telling Fox News it was related to the election of 2020. This is Fulton County. David Spunt's in Washington, D.C. David, hello.
Bill, hello. FBI agents spent most of the afternoon inside the records warehouse for the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections. The matter is sealed before a court meeting. Details are limited, but we can report, as you mentioned, this is related to the 2020 presidential election. Sources tell Fox that agents retrieved documents, phones, computers, ballot boxes after a judge signed a warrant. President Trump has long made Georgia and Fulton County a target of his complaints regarding the 2020 election.
It was kind of disbelief. It's been a long time in coming, I think, and getting a lot of the answers that need to be given.
This is an order from on high to try to disrupt Fulton County's election administration just because Donald Trump is still mad that he lost the 2020 elections.
Shortly after the election, Trump spoke to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger and told him to find 11,780 more votes to win the state. At the time, Raffensperger said he felt pressure from Trump. He still says so. He's denied any widespread election fraud. Fulton County DA Fani Willis brought state criminal charges against then former President Trump and others in 2023 for an alleged conspiracy to overturn the election. But her prosecution was famously derailed completely after it was revealed she had an intimate relationship with the top prosecutor on her team. Interesting to note, Dana and Bill, that Tulsi Gabbard, the director of national intelligence, was on scene yesterday with no official explanation.
So there's a lot going on, and it's really, really interesting. If you take a trip down memory lane, nothing makes sense. None of this makes sense. Okay, the question is why. This is all you this is the only thing you have to ask. Forget about potential fraud or criminality. Forget about any of that, which, possibly took place. Potentially, like the Honorable James Comey says, potentially. Why did Biden get kicked out of office after he won the support of 81 million Americans? I'm sorry, why did Biden get kicked out of contention for re-election? After 3.5 years after he won the support of 81 million Americans. Okay, if you win the support of 81 million people, you can have 30 bad debate performances. Okay, it's a very simple political calculus. This is not rocket science. There's no way that a sitting president loses the support of 81 million Americans, short of, some kind of catastrophe. Biden was a terrible president, but we didn't have like a specific calamity. It was just, inflation, everything. It was a terrible presidency. But short of a catastrophe, like a specific catastrophe, how do you lose the support of 81 million Americans? And so the Democratic Party, the same Democratic Party that catapulted Joe Biden into the Oval Office, is the same Democratic Party that refused, that allowed him to win his primary and then removed him from contention. They forced him to step down because of a debate performance, which, again, the question is, did he have that genuine support? Or was there criminal activity involved in catapulting him into the Oval Office? That's very simple, very rational. It's not sacrilege or blasphemy to ask this question. Okay, even the morally superior don't have an answer to it.
Former President Donald Trump in Virginia after a strong debate last night. Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with my good friends Judge Jeanine Pirro, Harold Ford Jr., Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Democrats from the safety of a teleprompter that he's not going anywhere after a bumbling debate performance set off a full-blown panic and calls to step aside.
Take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America.
Okay, we can go again. I'm not like a gleeful frothing at the mouth. We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. This is not just, oh, he misspoke. This is the manner that he expressed himself during the 2019 and lead up to the 2020 election. This is not new. God bless Joe Biden. I don't want to I wish him only the best, even though he likely committed bribery, graft with a laptop, all these things. Terrible president. But I don't look at politics from the vantage point of a frothing at the mouth, angry, maniacal, wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat. I don't have any animus or disdain for Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton or any Democrat. I look at things from just the vantage point of political analysis and reality. They say that reality has, some people say reality has a liberal bias. Well, actually, reality has a Trump bias. It's President Trump who won after 4 years of Biden. That's where the reality bends towards. The bias. Or the reality of American politics is that we went back to Trump. But you're going to hear exactly why, not a lot of people believe, or I should say, half the country, let's just say, doesn't think what took place was fair and square.
What I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, and I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence.
The real estate market.
Openly questioning if Joe Biden should even stay in the race.
Very bad night for Joe Biden.
Deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party.
It's kind of a DEFCON 1 moment.
President Biden needs to step down for humanity, for his integrity, and for his life.
So, again, if you get 81 million Americans to support you, that kind of... Even Democrats have more loyalty than that. That simply doesn't happen if there's 81 million Americans. The political capital, the political momentum, the admiration, you would have what you have with President Trump. And so, for example, if Liz Cheney was the Republican nominee, I wouldn't vote for Liz Cheney. I'm not a artificial intelligence robot. Okay, I'm voting for President Trump for a number of reasons. Okay, he's far less militant than his predecessors, even though people conflate what's going on with endless wars. No, Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, President Obama, and Biden and Clinton voted for actual endless wars, but we can go on forever. President Trump has that organic support. The question is, did Biden have the organic, legitimate, genuine political capital, support, and momentum? Yes or no?
Legacy.
There are going to be discussion about whether he should continue.
The universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic.
Conversations range from whether he should be in this race tomorrow morning to what was wrong with him.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all.
A lot of people have resting 25th Amendment face.
And here's an image Democrats don't want you to see. First Lady Jill Biden escorting her husband off the stage last night, but she insists he did a great job.
Joe, you did such a great job. You answered every question. You knew all the facts.
Amber.
So, again, I'm just going to, repeat myself like I usually do. Okay, this is something that, so the intelligentsia is absolutely horrified and they're indignant when anyone says, well, I don't know if it was fair and square and, it's probably some shenanigans took place and, they say, where's the evidence? There's no evidence. And Trump lost every single, he lost every single court case. There's no evidence at all. And so the question then, first of all, never debate a wonderful, morally superior, progressive, liberal, leftist. Never, ever. They'll ruin Thanksgiving, holidays, dinners, get-togethers, family, moments. It's not good. Just let them believe that they're morally superior and that ICE only existed today and never during Biden's administration when he was deporting hundreds of thousands of people. Anyway, but the question that needs to be asked of the wonderful, amazing reporters, journalists, academics, whatever, the Democratic Party, how did they remove Biden from contention if he actually had 81 million Americans supporting him? Was he more popular than President Obama? No, that's obvious. But the numbers show he was more popular. Was he? And then when people say, well, Trump was just so terrible. Well, but Trump won again after 4 years of Biden. He still had the same support. In fact, his support after being indicted and convicted in New York increased because people understood it was all theater and that indictment, that conviction will be overturned. No, this is a legitimate, rational, honorable question and discussion. If 81 million Americans supported Joe Biden, how did it take Democrats about 3 weeks to kick him out of re-election and then have Harris usurp him without having won even one primary vote? And then why did they allow him to win his primary? Why did they cheat Bernie Sanders in 2016? These are the same people who pontificate about democracy. So the question is, did he really have that political capital, momentum, support? Was it genuine? Did it exist? The numbers show it did, but the numbers show that Biden was more popular than Obama. This is not true. President Obama was far more popular, but the numbers don't show that. You can say, oh, well, there's more people. Oh, fine. But the issue is that you would have a President Obama-like support and you would have that capital, that political momentum. Okay, they wouldn't kick President Obama out of re-election in 2012 because of a bad debate performance, but they did that with Biden after he won more support than any American president ever. So that's the issue. There's no rebuttal to that, by the way. There's really no rebuttal, but I haven't even heard a rebuttal to it.
Answered every question. You knew all the facts.
And Barack Obama also coming to Joe Biden's defense. He's posted this on X. Bad debate nights happen. Trust me. I know. Greg Gutfeld.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
I wasn't shocked by this. I was disgusted by the people who are shocked by this. Imagine you're an American, an apolitical person untethered to any political silo who saw Biden last night for the first time, because that's when you check into politics. There's going to be a debate. How shocked and horrified would you have been? It's like running into an old friend that you hadn't seen in a couple of years who's now on the street and barely recognizable, and he's homeless. I mean, the people who are apolitical have an excuse for being shocked. But what about the Democrats and the media who are saying they are shocked and panicking? They're trying to play America. These are the slimy a-holes, right, who told us Biden was as sharp as a tack. And now they're kind of saying, well, this might be a one-off night. No, I recognize that Biden. I saw that Biden every single day.
That Biden won in 2020. That's the point. That's the point. He told Charlemagne the God the most offensive thing you could ever say, and the same liberals who were offended by everything weren't offended. That was more offensive and more crass and more rude and boorish than anything President Trump has ever said, ever. Could you imagine Trump saying, if you don't vote for me, then you are not who you are? Could you imagine? And immediately when that took place, I remember it was, oh, well, Trump is worse. Trump is worse. This is the attainment of political power is of the utmost concern for the Democratic Party. See, this is the difference between modern day Democrats and Republicans. Republicans want to enforce immigration laws. Okay. Republicans want to use either, we want to call it soft, I don't know. President Trump has a unique style of foreign policy where he uses tariffs in the manner that other presidents and other leaders would use military power. But he doesn't, he's against never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. You see, an arrest of Maduro, but that was, Biden had a $25 million reward. So there's things he's doing on the world stage, but he's not Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, President Obama. He's not an endless war president. So again, so President Trump has tariffs, enforcing immigration laws, tariffs to bring manufacturing jobs back. He has a specific vision. Republicans or Trump Republicans have a specific vision. Okay. Democrats talked about Medicare for all single payer 10 years ago and 5 years ago, and then now they're not talking about it. They deported hundreds of thousands in Biden's last year. Actually, deportations were higher under Biden using ICE, and now they can't stand ICE. And oh my God! And nobody knows what Democrats stand for other than the attainment of political power. They just want to attain political power at all costs, and they don't like Trump. So their entire worldview is Trump bad, Trump bad. That's it. Trump has specific objectives he wants on the world stage, domestically. Democrats have no specific objectives other than Trump is really bad. They govern through media and peer pressure and social pressure and all of that. It's like the cult is actually the Democratic Party. It's not Trump Republicans. I support President Trump, love President Trump. I wouldn't vote for like Chris Christie or Liz Cheney. Democrats would vote for Liz Cheney if she were the nominee. And Mamdani would vote for Liz Cheney. AOC would vote for Liz. Every leftist pundit that makes $1 million a year that's a socialist, wealthy socialist communist would vote for Liz Cheney if she were the Democratic nominee. It's just the attainment of political power. That's all. They want to be the ones deporting people, and then they don't obstruct ICE agents when they're deporting people. But the issue here is Biden was the same Biden. It wasn't a new Biden in 2024. It was the same Joe Biden. God bless him. He had the same issues. And so that's also well, how could he have won with the same issues that he presented or illustrated in 2024?
People are obsessed over the 2024 election. What about the time between now and then? We don't have a president. We know this, but now so does the world, and so do our enemies. And so you got the media, You know, they act like a guy waking up from an acid trip in the forest without their clothes on. What just happened? So we have to ask ourselves, were they delusional all along? Or is this a plan? Force Joe out by exposing what they knew already to the world well before the DNC so then they could get him replaced. We cannot allow our country to be this exposed to outside forces now that the world and our adversaries see that we are without a leader. But it makes you wonder, we didn't have a leader for a long time. And we keep saying this is unfair and cruel to Joe Biden. It's actually unfair and cruel to the American people to put us through that. And it was done by people whose hatred of Trump takes priority of love for country. So this isn't a review of a debate. It's an autopsy.
So there still hasn't been a political reckoning. The Democrats kicking Biden out of contention after he won his primary, in my mind, is just as grandiose of a scandal as how Biden won, or the upcoming, conspiracy statute indictments in the grand jury in Florida that'll probably be leveled almost certainly at Brennan, Comey, Clinton, and others, or Clinton and Bill and Hillary not testifying with the EP files subpoena in Congress. The fact that they kicked Biden out of 2024 contention is one of the greatest political scandals of all time, and it's in President Trump should actually that's worthy of an investigation also. How does a political party kick out an incoming president? I didn't vote for Biden. I'm not a fan of Biden. I support President Trump. But what they did to Biden was not only criminal, it was not only immoral from the morally superior. It was one of the worst. It was one of the most sinister things that I've ever seen in terms of politics. Biden won his primary. He was a sitting president. He was not a good president. He's a terrible president, but he was still a sitting president. He won his party's nomination. He had one debate performance that was literally a carbon copy of everything that he's ever done for the past, several years, 5-6 years in American politics. He spoke and communicated and expressed himself in the same manner. So then how did they kick him out of contention? What was the reasoning? Because they wanted to, what was the reasoning? They lost in a modern day landslide with Harris. And so the reasoning is tied to exactly why Trump thinks he was cheated. I hope the morally superior, highly educated, if they happen to stumble upon this, understand that concept.
Alert, the very first 2024 presidential debate is officially now in the books. We are live from a very, very busy spin room right here in my former city, my former home, Atlanta, Georgia. Now, in a moment, we're going to be joined by Senator J.D. Vance, Senator Marco Rubio, RNC Chair Laura Trump, and many, many more people that you're going to want to hear from tonight. But first, this was historic. This was a night to remember. First word out of my mouth, wow. And by the way, one that Joe Biden will want to forget and probably already has. Biden's performance was the single biggest disaster I have ever seen in a presidential debate in the history of this country, televised debates. A complete, total train wreck. From his opening words, he sounded awful. He looked even worse. He was over-rehearsed. He continually lost his train of thought, mumbling, bumbling, stumbling, fumbling, dazed and confused. And this all after one full.
You better believe that they set this man up. You better believe that they set that people, almost certainly, you had, that song, Backstabbers? It's, was it OJ's? Who sang that? Who sang that? It was a great song. They probably played that right before the debate. You better believe that they set up in like his own people, his own advisors, his own trusted circle. Some, not all, but some people set him up and framed him for that debate, meaning that they knew he wasn't ready, or they knew that he wasn't prepared enough, or they knew that he couldn't perform on a national stage or express himself in a manner that, President Trump and other people express themselves on a national stage. basically they wanted the world. It seemed almost certainly that Democrats around Biden wanted the entire planet to feel that he was one fry short of a Happy Meal. That's another sinister element to all of this. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Could you imagine being Joe Biden? You won 81 million. You won the support of 81 million Americans, and your own political party basically sabotages your. He won his primary. It's not just he didn't just win 81 million. He won his primary. And the way the Democrats work, they cheated Bernie Sanders. They're very moral. They're morally superior. This man won his primary. They said, no, we're going to let him win the primary. Just so there's like cohesion or some kind of, nobody thinks there's anything fishy going on. And then after he literally won his all the votes, primary votes, he's the candidate. They can't say he's not the candidate. Then they wrestle it away from him in a debate performance that they knew would be a catastrophe. And that's, it's like, that's what friends are for. It's unbelievable. They catapulted him, then took it away from him. And again, the word is sinister. What Democrats did to Joe Biden is sinister. I'm not even a fan. I voted for President Trump. I'm just saying it's the definition of there's an evil component to what they did to Joe Biden, taking it from him after they catapulted him into the Oval Office.
Week of prep, at times totally incoherent. And to make matters worse, Joe had the strangest, weirdest stare, like an empty vessel. I actually was feeling so bad for him. I was hoping maybe at some point, maybe a family member might come in and throw out in the towel. He simply is not strong enough physically. He is not strong enough, doesn't have the stamina. He's not strong enough cognitively. He doesn't have the mental acuity to be the president of the United States. That's what the country saw tonight. You decide.
Make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden.
When he said we finally beat Medicare, okay, this was not a new Joe Biden. This is something that the country saw in 2020. So then the question is, well, how did 81 million Americans support the same person that George Clooney wanted to kick out of re-election or contention? That's the question.
All right. Can you decipher what he was trying to say there? Does Joe even know what he was trying to say? President Trump pointed that out at one point. It is scary, and it was not, by the way, the only unusual moment from Joe Biden tonight. Here he is trying to talk about kitchen tables and rising prices. Pay close attention to how he says it.
No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they conclude beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Meanwhile, on the topic of abortion, Joe Biden very weirdly focused on people getting raped by their siblings and their brothers and sisters. Take a look.
Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women to be raped.
We're going to interrupt this tape for just a second. Joe Biden is speaking live. Let's go to Joe Biden. I guess he's talking to the press somewhere.
He's a liar. Look, folks, what's going to happen over the next couple of days? They're going to be out there fact checking all the things he said. I can't think of one thing he said that was true. I'm not being facetious. But look, We're going to beat this guy. We need to beat this guy.
See that? I mean, he's in his element there. Not so much debating. So that's bizarre too. And then the question is like, was he in on it? Like, what's going on here? Is it all just theater? Because he's not. Well, I mean, but he's not. Then he's not being forced to actually, think and debate and form a rebuttal. So here he's calm and collected and cool and So I mean, it's what Joe Biden did is like 1,000 times worse than what Jimmy Carter did to the Democratic Party. Jimmy Carter, you had 8 years of President Reagan, and then Herbert Walker Bush, 4 years, 12 years of Republicans in the Oval Office, 12 years. I don't know when a Democrat's going to win the Oval Office. You can look at, we have President Trump, 2028, J.D. Vance, 4 years, can go 8 years, Marco Rubio after the 8 years. So, I mean, it's like, the reason Democrats can't win on a national stage, they're obsessed with ICE the way they were obsessed with Tesla vehicles. But ICE deported hundreds of thousands under Biden and made the same interior arrests within the U.S. without obstruction. That's where all the violence and the chaos and 2 lives lost. If you obstruct law enforcement, you're taking your life into your own hands. That's the issue here.
And I need you in order to beat him. You're the people I'm running for.
Come back to me. All right, that's Joe Biden at a debate watch party. Can't really make out exactly what he's saying. Let's go back to the debate itself. Here's Joe trying to talk about veterans and D-Day. Take a listen.
I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines.
So that publication almost certainly made it up. It's unbelievable how they can attribute the most atrocious quotes to President Trump and call it news. And then Biden said something. Trump never called anyone in his family as a loser. And it's like, Trump never said that. Okay. When Don Lemon was Don Lemon basically told the world that he was going to enter illegally into a church. This was a New York Post article that I talked about in the uploads today. And he said, we were driving by and we found this group of people, and it was MAGA coded because it had flags, the American flag. It's Trump Republicans that love the country, that love veterans, yes, 100% veterans should get more funding than even what we have now. But it's Trump Republicans that have pride and love for the country. It's a lot, in many cases, not all cases, a lot of Democrats love the country too, just as much, obviously. But in many cases, the protesters or the wonderful pundits on the left, and many politicians as well, don't have that same pride, don't have that same admiration or love, okay, with the words that they say. And the fact that, in many cases, the fact that Don Lemon had to say, we thought it was MAGA coded, these people, because they had the American flag. It's like, what, Democrats or protesters wouldn't have? Why wouldn't they have the flag? That's interesting.
Let's stop here about Joe Biden for a second. You cannot diminish the unbelievable debate performance tonight that we saw from Donald Trump. Donald Trump was focused. Donald Trump didn't take the bait. Donald Trump did not in any way react. He was lucid. He was on his A game. He did not get upset at anything Biden tried to throw at him. And in fairness to fake news CNN, fake Jake and fake Dana, they put aside their prejudice, their hatred towards Donald Trump for the night, and they actually asked questions and waited for answers, and I thought they managed the debate fairly well, something I didn't expect considering we've been playing all of the tape of them trashing Donald Trump for many, many years. So I guess credit for one night. Biden didn't just get confused and fumble over his words. He also lied. He lied about suckers and losers and that hoax. He lied about the economy. He lied about taxes. He lied about violent crime. He lied about the border in particular. Biden even lied when he said he got an endorsement from the Border Patrol Union. Well, moments ago, the Border Patrol Union tweeted this statement: "To be very clear, we never have and never will endorse Joe Biden." But despite all of this, his most egregious lie was about the brave men and women of our military. Take a look.
In the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have any, this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
Really, Joe? No troops dying? I know you were looking at your watch during the dignified transfer, but did you really forget about the 13 Americans who were killed in Afghanistan, or the thousands that you abandoned and left behind because of that disastrous withdrawal? This debate made one thing very clear.
And by the way, the Doha Agreement called for I think it was a May 31st, or it was a withdrawal date that Biden passed, didn't even address, along with other stipulations as well. Okay, but anyway, Don Lemon was arrested today. More arrests are on the way. Check this out.
A Fox News alert. Journalist Don Lemon has been arrested in connection with an anti-ICE protest at a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. Bill Malusian joins us now with more on this breaking news. Hey, Bill.
Yeah, Charlie, good morning to you. Our colleague David Spunt and I getting this breaking news from multiple law enforcement sources just minutes ago, confirming that former CNN anchor Don Lemon has been arrested by federal agents in Los Angeles just after midnight this morning at a hotel. This obviously all in connection with that storming of a church in St. Paul, Minnesota by that group of anti-ICE agitators. Now remember, the feds had gone to judges to try to get Don Lemon arrested before. They went to a magistrate judge in Minnesota who didn't sign off on an arrest warrant for him. Then it went to a judge above him. He didn't sign off on an arrest warrant for him. Then it went to an appeals court. They also decided not to sign off for an arrest warrant for him. So there was experts who were predicting that perhaps the feds would go to a grand jury. It remains to be seen if that's what happened here, but we can confirm that Don Lemon was arrested.
So what Don Lemon is doing there is not journalism. It's you could call it, him being an activist, but it's more he's intimidating a pastor. He's going into a church. This isn't an interview he asked. This is trespassing, breaking into a church, a federal crime of stopping a church service. It is a federal crime to break into a church and stop, or any place of worship, and stop the congregants from worshiping and yell, and people are yelling in people's faces, and that's also viewed as assault, either a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the type of situation. People were afraid for their lives there. You had worshipers who went there to worship God, we First Amendment, Democrats even to forget the First Amendment also allows freedom of worship. And you can see the pastor is, there's a great deal of intimidation. This is not journalism. Journalism is not barging into a place of worship and asking, being belligerent and trying to demean the theology or the philosophy of worshipers or of a pastor. That's not journalism. And what took place was a criminal act and the FACE Act, almost certainly. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe. Be here tomorrow for the live streams. We'll do more live streams also. Going back and forth on there's going to be a lot of amazing news in 2026. definitely hit subscribe to H.A. Goodman. And also, hopefully, also soon, I'll be published in a number of places. It'll be fantastic. I look forward to sharing the articles with you. And go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. Hit subscribe, everybody. Thank you.